Alright guys, let's take you on a walk around of this new Wrangler. I've posted a lot of videos on this new JL platform, and I do really like this Wrangler. It's a fantastic Jeep. It rides well. It's actually pretty livable on the street finally in this latest generation, and it's still at home here at the mall. You can see we've gotten a little bit dirty this week, but honestly this is going to be an on-road review. We don't really have any off-road situations we can test around here aside from just taking it to a dedicated park, and we'll get into some of that later this year in the summer. I will say this is one of the first hardtop Wranglers that I've tested. It does have the slide back sunroof or panoramic convertible top, but I do really like the packaging of this hardtop. It's so easy to open this area and get to the back and store things back here. There's plenty of room. It's cool to see these beefy roll bars back here as well. And of course, on this door panel, you get all the specs of water fording height, breakover angle, all that good stuff. Built in Toledo, Ohio. There's a neat little rail system here where you can tie things and adjust these. Even a little bit of storage underneath for privacy. As you can hear, this diesel is pretty quiet. You still get a little bit of that clatter, but Jeep has done quite a bit of work to kind of mute this thing and kind of reduce some of its harshness. We'll take a look under the hood here. Fits quite well, looks very proper in there. And I will say, I love the way this thing drives. It is a hoot to drive in the city. Alright, pretty standard Wrangler Rubicon. You see them every day about 500 times. But what's this one like to drive? Let's focus on that in this video. We have one of the highest res reverse cameras that I've seen in any new car, so that's nice. It would be cool to get some type of a trail cam in the front, but that is one thing I always have appreciated about Wranglers, is that you kind of rely a little bit more on your driving skill in off-road situations as opposed to the capabilities of the vehicle. Like, there are a lot of high capabilities here, but it still takes some skill to get it through obstacles and off-road terrain. So if you look at the numbers and think about this diesel, it may not make a whole lot of sense on paper. You'd have to drive hundreds of thousands of miles to break even on this compared to the gas engine, just on cost alone and fuel savings, stuff like that. But from a fun factor and from a driving enjoyment factor, this diesel is the answer. This is the best engine I've ever driven in a Wrangler. It is paired so well to this 8-speed. The power is awesome. It sounds cool. There's a great amount of torque and usable power here. It holds gears beautifully. I love the way this thing drives. And it gets pretty good fuel economy. All week with mostly city driving, I've been averaging about 23, 24 miles to the gallon. You get just a little bit of turbo whistle on throttle. It's very satisfying. So when I first got this Wrangler, I was curious, who's this diesel for? And it's good to offer as an option, but I think if you're a buyer and you're going to be doing a lot of driving around town, a lot of local driving,
Watch out, object on road ahead.
Don't get the diesel. This is not quite the powertrain for you. But if you're going to be doing long road trips, maybe towing a little bit, throwing 35-inch mudder tires on your Jeep, really using this thing off-road or in long-distance travel, this diesel is really going to pay off in terms of range, efficiency. And modern diesels, honestly, really shine when they're being pushed and used to their capabilities. When you just putz around in your diesel with the DEF and the emissions equipment on modern diesel engines, it doesn't really work out that well. I will say this is reasonably active around corners. You get the same Jeep handling that these things have always had. Just look at this torque. It's kind of hard to hear the diesel on the highway over the wind noise and the tire noise from these BFG KO2s. But I will say, compared to the soft top variants, this is a little bit better. We're getting a little bit of noise from the roof here because this is the fold back soft top. But it's all quite livable. And I can really see why people love driving these things. There is definitely an inherent charm to the Wrangler, and this Rubicon, with its newly tuned suspension and everything, is just, it rides super well. It really massages over bumps. You get quite a bit of body motion under cornering and over larger undulations, but it actually does a pretty good job of taking out a lot of the shock from hard bumps and things. Let's see how this top folds back here. It's a good day for this. I love that just in one press of a button you can fold back the entire roof, and then you've got pretty much as much of a convertible as you'd want. Check out this turning radius here. So useful on trails, even though this is the 4-door with a longer wheelbase. I think that's awesome. I've always enjoyed how Jeep integrates their radar-guided cruise control. You have the option here for radar-guided cruise and the option here for standard, traditional, old-school cruise control. Not a lot of car companies offer both options anymore. And sometimes it's nice to just use your cruise control how it used to be, without the systems intervening all the time. To be honest, there isn't really a whole lot I don't like about this thing. I drove this all week and I've kind of been a little bit smitten, to be honest. The only downside is the price, and if you want a Jeep, you want a Jeep, and you're not really considering much else. And I will say this diesel drives really, really well. It's a joy to toss around. It's a fuel efficient engine. It's smooth. It's got tons of torque. Definitely adds to the driving experience. And from fun factor alone, if you're already paying $55,000 for your Jeep, add on another $6,000, get the diesel. I think it's worth it. This thing also has a really short low gear. And you could just crawl up anything with ease. I will say over the years, Jeep has done quite a bit to improve the road manners of these Wranglers. They still have pretty vague steering and tend to wander around quite a bit on pavement, but they do soak up the potholes here in Michigan incredibly well. And they're fantastic off-road. You go through a washboarded back road, dirt road with a bunch of potholes, and it just eats it up. So I will say this Wrangler is pretty livable on road. It's not as good as the Gladiator that I drove a little while ago. Like, there's just a refinement in that long wheelbase, and just a smoothness to that driving experience that's really quite enjoyable to live with on a day-to-day basis. And this is a little bit more active. It's a little bit more, you're getting moved around here a little bit. You're feeling the curvature of the road. You're counteracting, the crown of the road on the highway. The wind's throwing you around a little bit. You've got more noise in the cabin. All right, guys. Well, it's your Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. It's awesome. It's fun. It's a bit of a pig on the road, but that's okay. Adds to the experience. This diesel is fantastic if you can swing it, and you're going to be putting a lot of miles on a Jeep, and or using it for towing or just a little bit more heavy duty use. To me, it's a little bit of a no-brainer. I think it's worth the extra price tag. Yeah, it's a cool powertrain. Props for Jeep for offering it. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.